Ladies and gentlemen, the world may be standing on the edge of another major conflict. Rising tensions between Iran and the United States are once again shaking the Middle East, sending shockwaves across global politics, energy markets, and regional security. Military threats, proxy attacks, naval confrontations, and diplomatic breakdowns are all happening at the same time. Many experts are now asking a dangerous question. Are Iran and the United States heading toward direct war? If a war breaks out, who strikes first? Who has the upper hand? And why are Middle Eastern countries deeply afraid of what may come next? Tonight, we break down the latest developments, the balance of power, and what this escalating crisis could mean for the entire world. In recent months, tensions between Tehran and Washington have sharply increased. The United States has accused Iran of supporting armed groups across the Middle East, including militias in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen. These groups have carried out attacks on U.S. military bases, naval assets, and allies. Iran, on the other hand, claims it is defending itself against American pressure, sanctions, and military encirclement. Tehran views U.S. military bases in the region as a direct threat to its national security. Naval confrontations in the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz have raised serious alarms. This waterway is one of the most important oil shipping routes in the world. Any conflict here could disrupt global energy supplies and trigger an economic shock. Meanwhile, diplomatic efforts remain fragile. Nuclear negotiations are stalled, trust is extremely low, and both sides are preparing for worst-case scenarios. The possibility of war is real, but complex. Neither Iran nor the United States openly wants a full-scale war. The cost would be enormous, not only militarily, but politically and economically. However, history shows that wars do not always begin by intention. They often begin by miscalculation. A single missile strike, a deadly proxy attack, or a naval incident could spiral out of control. The biggest danger right now is uncontrolled escalation. Small clashes could quickly turn into a regional war involving multiple countries. This is why analysts describe the situation as a powder keg, one spark away from explosion. If conflict erupts, the first move is critical. The United States has overwhelming air power, advanced missile systems, cyber capabilities, and global military reach. A U.S. first strike would likely target Iran's military infrastructure, missile sites, and nuclear facilities. Iran, however, operates differently. Rather than launching a direct attack on U.S. soil, Iran's strategy relies on asymmetric warfare. This includes proxy forces, missile strikes on regional bases, drone attacks, cyber warfare, and naval harassment. In reality, Iran may not strike directly first, but its allied groups could, giving Tehran plausible deniability. This indirect strategy makes the conflict far more dangerous and unpredictable. Militarily, the United States is far superior in terms of technology, air power, and global logistics. But Iran's strength lies elsewhere. Iran has influence across the Middle East. It has allies and armed groups in Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, and Yemen. This means any war would not be limited to one battlefield. Israel, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and U.S. bases across the region would all be potential targets. Iran also controls geography. The Strait of Hormuz gives Tehran leverage over global oil supplies, a weapon that could impact the entire world economy. So while the U.S. may dominate militarily, Iran has the advantage in regional disruption. There would be no easy victory for either side. Middle Eastern countries are extremely worried, and for good reason. A war between Iran and the United States would not stay bilateral. It would spread rapidly across borders. Oil-producing nations fear economic collapse. Gulf states fear missile and drone attacks. Israel fears a multi-front war involving Hezbollah. Iraq and Syria fear becoming battlefields once again. Civilians would pay the highest price. That is why many regional governments are quietly pushing for de-escalation, even while publicly choosing sides. They know that once war begins, controlling it may be impossible. The Iran-US confrontation is not just a regional crisis, it is a global one. The world is watching closely as tension rises, diplomacy weakens, and military preparations intensify. Whether war breaks out or not will depend on decisions made behind closed doors, and on whether restraint can overcome retaliation. One thing is certain. If this conflict turns into war, The consequences will be felt far beyond the Middle East. This is not just Iran versus America. This is a test of global stability,